Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Annie and this is Unity Consciousness. Thank you so much for stopping by and welcome to our new viewers this week. And also I appreciate those who are returning again this week for the energy update. So we're going to be discussing the energy that will be with us beginning today, the 4th of December, moving through the week. We do have a full moon midweek, and then we've got Venus and Mercury both changing signs this week as well. So let's break it down. Let's get started. Late Monday and early Tuesday, Mercury is the first planet on the move this week. So Mercury, before it enters Capricorn, is going to make a very tense aspect with Jupiter and Pisces. So it's at the very late degrees of Sagittarius, and it's going to square Jupiter. Like I said, then it's going to move into Capricorn. So these are really big ideas, big lofty ideas. So Jupiter expands anything that it comes into contact with, even if it's by aspect of square. And Mercury's the planet of communication. And in Sagittarius, it was very expansive. And so when you have this square to Jupiter, it's really, really big ideas that you just want to research, you want to get into it. But don't get too far ahead of yourself in the process. This is very fast-moving energy, and before you know it, Mercury is going to move into Capricorn, which is going to ground us. Mercury in Capricorn is very practical. It's very organized. It's very articulate. As a matter of fact, when you communicate when Mercury is in Capricorn, it can almost come off as calloused or cold because there's not a lot of room for emotions there. Now, also interesting to note is Mercury is going to be in Capricorn for quite some time. We are going to be experiencing Mercury in retrograde. Mercury enters shadow in the sign of Capricorn, I believe on the 12th, and then goes retrograde on the 29th, and will remain retrograde until the 18th, at which time it goes, 18th of January, at which time it goes back in. It's still in shadow, direct though, and it doesn't come out until I believe it's the 7th of February when it actually comes out of retrograde and then remains in the sign of Capricorn till like the 11th of February. So this is going to be a very elongated time for Mercury to be in Capricorn. So get to know that energy well. Be mindful if others are speaking to you in a very, what you perceive to be a cold or calloused way. It may not be personal. It may not be personal at all. It's just that person wants to, it's all brass tacks and right to the point, very direct communications. Then late Wednesday, early Thursday, we've got a full moon in Gemini. And this full moon is, the moon itself is conjunct Mars, retrograde in Gemini. This screams emotions. So you're going to want to take action on something and you're going to be so compelled to do it because whenever there's a full moon, it's a culmination, but it is light being shown on something for the purpose of culmination. And with Mars, which is retrograde in Gemini, conjunct the moon at that time, and the moon is our emotions, your emotions might be just wanting to burst. There are other aspects at the same time. So let's kind of break this down a little bit. Like I mentioned, full moons are culminations. That energy is with us for a shorter period of time. This is not an eclipse, folks. So it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks-ish, this energy will be around. But it does move pretty quickly. I think, you know, with the Sun and Sagittarius being quincunx to Uranus and the North Node, you know, we're gonna stand in our individualism, and we're gonna want freedom, and we know the truth, and we know the direction we should be headed. You know, so there's one piece of energy at the time of this full moon, and then there's a loose square, so it's not exact by degree. As a matter of fact, I believe we're about 6 degrees off of exactitude between Neptune, which is in Pisces, and the Sun, which is in Sag, and the Moon, which is in Gemini. So even though it's a loose square, you may not be seeing things clearly. So when you jump up onto that soapbox because you want to explode with emotions, just understand you may not have all the details. Even though Neptune is direct, this is a square. So there's something that you can't see around that corner that's going to come back up at a later time that might bite you in the you know what if you speak too soon or too loudly on something that you don't have all the facts on. So just be mindful of that. And a very good thing here is Saturn, which is in Aquarius, is going to be trine Mars and the Moon, and it's going to be sextile Sagittarius, the Sun in Sag. So I like this energy. You know, it asks you to take ownership for sure because it's Saturn, but you get the reward for taking ownership. It's very easy energy, very easy to do. You can step up, you can take ownership of something, or really stand true to how you feel about something, and it's very easy to do. Now, at the same time, Chiron is having a trine and a sextile, but it's in reverse. So Chiron, which is in Aries, is going to trine the Sun in Sag, and it's going to sextile the Moon and Mars, which is, again, retrograde in Gemini. So what does that mean? Chiron is our wounded healer. So whatever action is taken is going to be very healing in the process. So the outcome of whatever the energy is surrounding this full moon is going to be very, very healing, especially if you stand in your truth. And you let go. Keep in mind that Mars is asking you to do something, and this might be a time when letting go is the action that you take, or turning away from whatever it is that has got your emotions very high. You know, maybe it's time to just cut your loss, cut bait and let it go. That is a real good thing to do at the time of the full moon. So another thing I want to point out here to keep in mind, there is a ton of mutable energy. So the mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sag, and Pisces. And that just means that we will be very adaptable. Adaptability will be easy. So you can pivot pretty well. And we've got 4 Kuiper Belt objects as well, without getting into all of those. But there are 4 Kuiper Belt objects that are forming a mutable Grand Cross. Again, adaptability. So I have to say, at the time of this full moon, if you get all worked up about something, just remember that you can be adaptable, and truly maybe just letting go of whatever it is that you feel compelled to speak out against, just letting go of it might be enough to, you know, give you that healing and satisfaction that you need. So that's something to keep in mind. Then on Friday, we've got Venus, because remember, Venus and Mercury, they're continuing to move further and further apart, but Mercury has that square with Jupiter at the beginning of the week, then changes into Capricorn. Now Venus is going to do it. So Venus is going to square Jupiter, and Venus will be in the latter end degrees of Sagittarius, and Jupiter is in the end degrees of Pisces. And they're going to square, and then Venus is going to change signs into Capricorn. So what does all that mean? That means that relative to money or relationships, you go from having very large, expansive, lofty ideas to grounding, like right now, practical grounding, and very, you know, calculated and controlled. So what can you use this for? What you can use that for is setting up a budget. If things have gotten out of control, or you're over the top in some new relationship, this will allow you to kind of temper things a little bit and bring it back down to a grounded reality. So I think that's important to note. Let's use it for a positive, and that certainly would be if you've got these crazy, lofty, out there ideas relative to spending money, or, you know, over the top in this brand new relationship you have, or you're super excited about the neighbor that just moved in next door. You know, give it a little bit of time, and that energy is going to be grounded, and you'll be able to plan accordingly without having too much loft in the air. Let me get back to that full moon in Gemini. Neptune plays an interesting part. Neptune is there's again a very loose square. It's certainly not exact, but if you find yourself compelled to do something because of that Mars conjunction with the Mars retrograde, conjunct the moon, very good for creativity. Let's just throw that out there again. So if you are into the arts in any way, shape, or form, this might be another good week to dive in and get creative. So I think overall, what we're saying, what this week's energy says to me is our means and methods of communication, because Mercury is changing sign, and relationships, they're shifting. It's shifting this week from this loftiness to a very calculated, planned, projected type energy. And that full moon, that very emotionally charged full moon, right smack dab in the middle of that, is asking us to use our power of adaptability, and traverse situations accordingly. Be mindful, because Mars is going to ask us to react, because that is the planet of passion and taking up a fight against something. So just be mindful that it's going to be supercharged. Be mindful of your words. If someone is projecting on you, or if you see yourself projecting on someone else, it's time to take a break. It's time to step back and, take ownership. Saturn is at good aspect here. So you can take ownership and reap some rewards, and that reward can be healing. Again, Chiron's involved as well, by taking ownership of something or absolutely letting go. Remember, letting go is an action that, especially at the time of a full moon, is a very good thing to do. So let's get to the card that we pulled, that actually jumped out of the deck this week as well. It is, today I pulled from the Journey Tarot deck, and Cassie Ewell is the designer of this deck. And the card for today is the Four of Wands. Very interesting that it's got a full moon there at the top too. Let me back it up just a little bit so you can see all of the card. And let me read what the Four of Wands says to us today. Take a moment to celebrate how far you have come and everything you've put in place during this journey. Where have you created stability in your life? There's that Saturn influence for us. Honor your growth, no matter how big or small. And I do believe that that speaks about the Chiron aspects as well. I love the diversity on this card. I love the wands asking for healing from that full moon. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for stopping by today. If you liked this video, please click the like button. If you know someone that could be helped, please do share this video. If you want to know when they're being dropped, click the subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, I welcome them. Please put them in the comment section below, and I will reply back to you ASAP. Have a wonderful week. Namaste.